4 teams, 2 records, and 4 very different weekends. There were highs, there were lows, and there was the absolute bleh that was the primetime game. These teams, the Steelers, Browns, Bengals, Ravens, the AFC North has been one of the toughest divisions in football for quite a long time, and I doubt that is going to change. These 4 teams have had some really, really interesting games, and I want to talk about each one of these. Give these guys the coverage that they absolutely deserve. If you're interested, make sure you like the video, subscribe if you are new. And with that out of the way, let's talk about the AFC North. When it comes to what exactly happened this week in the AFC North, there is no better place to start than the matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens. It was an all-time classic, 41-38 shootout that went into overtime. To say that this was an offensive masterpiece would be an understatement. Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow had phenomenal days. Over 300 passing yards for each quarterback. Phenomenal passer ratings. 4 touchdowns for Lamar, 5 for Joe Burrow. 1 turnover apiece. For Baltimore, the rushing attack was phenomenal. Derrick Henry had a great day. Lamar had a great day. And on the receiving side, while Zay Flowers definitely took the bulk of the offensive output, it was a healthy mix from Kolar Bateman and Mark Andrews. For Cincinnati, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, no surprise here, combined for 270 of Burrow's 392 passing yards, and each had 2 touchdowns. This game was an absolutely phenomenal watch. And what this showed was the strength of Baltimore. Baltimore, for my entire life, has been known for their defense, that defensive culture, that hard-nosed edge, kind of like Pittsburgh in a way. But Baltimore showed that the addition of Derrick Henry mattered. Baltimore, when the game got down to the wire and they had one final chance, it was Derrick Henry that popped off in order to seal the deal. Baltimore has looked like a really good team offensively. It's really come together. Their defense hasn't been as great as it was last year, but now that Todd Monken's kind of gelling with Lamar and this offense, there's a lot of potential here. Baltimore is in a really, really good spot. So next up on the schedule, they have Washington and Tampa Bay. And Jaden Daniels, while he has been very, very good especially since his coming out party against the Cincinnati Bengals, I don't see a world where Baltimore doesn't end up at a 5-2 record. And they should honestly be the favorites to win this division. They got to clean up that defense a little bit. But man, Lamar is as dynamic as ever. When he literally shoved Sam Hubbard to the ground and then threw the touchdown while he's going to the sideline. It was phenomenal. That's why I kind of don't get the Lamar. It's a really weird dynamic where the same people who love Josh Allen for his athletic ability are the same ones that critique Lamar. I've been watching Lamar for years in the AFC North, and he is just such a fun. He is a fun player to watch. Baltimore has a bright future this season, and I would be surprised if they don't find a way to contend for the number 2, maybe even the number 1 spot, depending on how these tiebreakers go. That tie-breaking loss to Kansas City, not exactly great, but it's nice to have the Buffalo one in the back pocket, because you don't know what's going to happen in the AFC East. Now, for Cincinnati, this is an absolute nightmare. Cincinnati, up on the schedule, has 2 teams, the Giants and the Browns, which in theory should be easy wins, but then again, the Bengals lost to the Patriots and the Commanders this year. Those were supposed to be some free W's, and they didn't get those. The Bengals, their defense has regressed so bad that Joe Burrow has had some of his best offensive output, and yet they're still losing games. When you score over 30 points in an NFL football game, you should win the football game. But that's not what happened. And what you saw was that Joe Burrow, quite literally, had to play a perfect game or else the Bengals are going to lose. And one mistake was all it took. He just threw that one interception. Now, Lamar also made a mistake. He had that drop fumble in that drop ball in overtime that turned it back over Cincinnati and to give them Evan McPherson a chance to kick the field goal. But if this season is going to be built on Joe Burrow being lights out 2019 LSU Burrow, this is an unsustainable path. Furthermore, the defense did not get any more good news. Dax Hill just torn his ACL. So now the Bengals have lost another defensive piece, which is not good. But the thing to take note is that Bombs Away Burrow is back. He was slinging it down the field. He was getting aggressive. He was throwing the ball down. There wasn't as many of these dinks and these dunks like there usually are. At least recently, ever since that 2021 season. Burrow has done good at taking what the defense gave him, but when he was aggressive, he was making those plays, and it should have showed in a W, but it didn't. Mainly because the Bengals right now are a very flawed team. So here's what I will tell you. If you think the Bengals are going to make the playoffs, Joe Burrow's probably going to win MVP, or at least have a great shot, just because he's going to have to put up these numbers. He is going to have to throw for 6 touchdowns a game at this point, potentially, in order to win. Because you saw Washington, the offense scored 33, and they lose. The fact that Cincinnati they keep scoring and losing is a problem. But the good thing is that at least they do something well. If the defense can gel a little bit better, if they can improve, then they can start winning. And fortunately for them, I actually think these next 2 games that they can get it right and that they can get back to 3-4. But again, when you lose to the Patriots, when you lose to the Commanders, you can lose to anybody. Cleveland. What were you doing? You sold your soul for the masseuse man, the massage marauder, the Cleveland creep, the parlor perv. This Deshaun Watson deal may go down in the history of the league as one of the worst trade deals in the history of trade deals, maybe ever. A fully guaranteed contract, multiple draft picks, and yet the Cleveland Browns have found themselves in a hole. Their quarterback play has been horrendous. Not just this year, but last year, and the year before that as well. And they have found a way to lose to, outside of the Dallas Cowboys, a lot of teams that people thought, hey, you could probably get a W. The Commanders one may not look so bad right now, but the Raiders? The Giants? Seriously? I had a thesis last season with the Cleveland Browns. I figured that they were going to miss the playoffs because they were going to have a circus at the quarterback position. That Deshaun Watson wasn't going to pan out quite the way that they thought they would. And last season, I was right. I just didn't think that Joe Flacco would come in and save the day. But this year, the wheels are really falling off the wagon in Cleveland. It has just been not very good. I don't know what they do well. Their defense hasn't been great. Their offense hasn't been great. When I watch Cleveland play, I don't know what's going on. And it's heartbreaking. I'm from Ohio. My family are Browns fans. I grew up in Browns country. The Cleveland Browns are an iconic and beloved franchise. And yet, the fans just keep finding themselves in the same position of complete deja vu, where it's miserable at the quarterback position. Right now, they're in a situation where they have to give all this money to Deshaun for not very good play, for a media circus. And on top of it all, they're not getting wins for it right now. I don't know what the best course of action for the Cleveland Browns are. I really don't. It's not that they have a bad coaching staff. It's not that they have a bad roster. Things are just not going well this year. And I'm honestly not sure how to fix it. At least with the Cincinnati Bengals, they have something good they do well. What do the Browns do well right now? I'm genuinely asking. Feel free to comment on the video what they do well, because I would love for the Cleveland Browns to be a great football team, but I don't know how they're going to turn this one around. I don't see a lot of hope right now. And there's all these rumors about, like, should they trade this player? Should they trade that player? Which, by the way, that's a whole bunch of media speculation. It's just it's because they need something else to talk about at this point. It's not always a guaranteed thing. You know, sometimes you can just be spinning wheels and talking about something that's never going to happen. You know, like the Brandon Ayuk thing. That thing went off way too long in the sports media cycle. I don't know where the hope for the Cleveland Browns are. What I do know is that their next 2 games are not ideal. They get to play a Philadelphia Eagles team who is still fighting to contend for their division, and, on the other hand, a divisional opponent who is playing desperate and with a quarterback who right now, for lack of a better word, is absolutely possessed. Burrow's been playing lights-out football. This defense hasn't. The only thing I can think that if there are going to be a bounce back for this team is if Deshaun Watson and that offense can kind of start cooking some more against these 2 teams. You know, like the Bengals have had a lot of defensive issues. That could be a get-right game. But if they don't, I mean, there's a chance, guys, that the Cleveland Browns could fall to 2-5 or worse. 1-6, which means they'd be competing for a top draft pick. It means they could look at drafting a quarterback, but you still got to pay that guaranteed money to Deshaun Watson. Cleveland is in a really tough spot right now, and honestly, my heart absolutely breaks for this team. If it's not an ugly primetime game, it's not a Steelers ugly primetime game. Sunday night, the play from the quarterbacks were statistically not great. The game quality, not great. Seriously, why was this Bengals-Baltimore game not a primetime game? It is an absolute war crime. Pittsburgh is in a very interesting spot. Everyone wants to take a look at their defense and say, oh, because the defense is so amazing, we just got to get this offense together. Why isn't this offense good? The takes have gotten so preposterous that there are serious people thinking that, you know what would solve our problems? Russell Wilson. And no. Do not bring back in the washed man. There's a reason Denver got rid of him. There's a reason Seattle got rid of him. There is a reason that he is in Pittsburgh right now, because he is not good. Justin Fields is younger, he's more dynamic, and he has more potential. Play him. You are not winning a Super Bowl this year, Pittsburgh. I'm so sorry. Your only hope is if Justin Fields can pop off and become your franchise quarterback. Russell Wilson will not win you anything. So put that away. What you should really fix is that rushing attack. I mean, holy cow, man. The Najee Harris just gets used like a battering ram for the most inefficient offensive output for running back I've seen. It's the same thing too. Like, yeah, he's gonna get his yards and all that, but it's always the same thing. You're making your life on the quarterback so much harder when your run game is, well, let's just say, not exactly up to par. I don't put this on Justin Fields at all. I think Justin Fields has proved himself to be the starter for Pittsburgh this season. I do. He's been getting better every week. You need to wrap your arms around him. You should just make him the starter. Russell Wilson will not save your season, but if you want to save your future, you need to embrace Justin Fields. He has been dynamic. His accuracy has definitely improved. And a lot of these other issues that we've seen on the offensive side isn't about Justin Fields necessarily. It's about, the fact that you should probably get a little bit more wide receiver help. Maybe. Just saying. Maybe we could get a second one of those. That might help. And more importantly, the offense is just too conservative in the first half. I'm sorry. I don't know why we have to wait until we have to release Justin Fields to actually try to be more aggressive. It's maddening to watch. It is maddening to watch. Pittsburgh, if they can get their offense together, will be fine. But this is the style Mike Tomlin wants to play. So guess what, gang? This isn't changing. You're going to watch the same thing over and over again. You're going to watch this ugly brand of football. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is, because as long as Tomlin is the coach, this is what's going to happen. You are going to be in perpetual mediocrity. A winning record is the standard, after all. So no, don't blame this guy. Don't blame Justin Fields. He is not the problem here. The problem kind of is Tomlin, which is why I think you're going to see some interesting stuff happen. It is a Pittsburgh tradition to overperform against teams that you thought they'd have no chance against, and then play some games where it's like, what are you doing? They play the Raiders and the Jets, and I think it's very, very likely that they end up splitting to get back to a 4-3 record. They are not cooked. Their season's far from over, mainly because as long as Mike Tomlin is your coach, you will own the rest of the division in some way, shape, or form. I've made the mistake of trying to think that, Tomlin's going to have a losing record because, or not that he's going to have a losing record, but he's going to have a losing record against the division, and he just doesn't. I mean, he has the magic elixir against Lamar Jackson. I mean, every time Pittsburgh, Baltimore play, it's like, they're going to split one. They just do. And they own the Steelers still live in Browns fans' nightmares, and the Bengals, well, I mean, Tomlin did beat Burrow with Trubisky. They swept him last year. So as long as Pittsburgh can take care of business within the division, they're going to be more than fine. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to have another winning record most likely. I don't see a world where that doesn't happen either. But it doesn't mean that things are good the way they are. I think things should change in Pittsburgh. But that's probably not going to happen. So probably shouldn't speculate too much on that. So there you have it, folks. That is the rest of the division for you. 3-2, 1-4, but these teams have very, very different paths, very different trajectories. And while I think that things are going to be okay for Baltimore, the Steelers are going to be fine, the Bengals have a chance to be fine. Browns fans, it's going to be a rough one. But who knows, maybe I'm completely wrong. You can come back and meme me in the comments. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe if you're new. Thank you guys for watching.